Ezekiel Chapter 10, and down in, like I said, verse 8, and pretty much most of chapter 10, reading it, is a second description of God's chariot from Ezekiel chapter 1. Okay? It's a, and it's, there are some, if you will, some differences here in the description, but it's essentially the same chariot, the same vehicle, okay? The same wheeled vehicle with the four living creatures, and kind of this whole, you could probably say that the whole vehicle, with its wheels and its living creatures and all of this is one, if you will, a living creature. The whole thing could be is like a living creature. And now we in verse 2 from last time, we God. Let's see, verse 1, look, behold, in the firmament there was above the cherubims, there appeared over them sapphires as the appearance of the likeness of a throne. And he spake unto the man clothed with linen, and this would be God from his chariot, and the man clothed with linen would be Jesus, said, go in between the wheels, under the cherub, fill thy hand with coals of fire from between the cherubims, and scatter them over the city. And he went in my sight. So Jesus did, following instructions there, did what he was told to do, going in underneath the chariot. Okay? And then we come down to verse 6 and 7. Okay? And actually 6 and 7 describe what happened before verse 2. It kind of jumps back up, describes what happens before verse 2 in 6 and 7. And there are a couple of places in this chapter where that happens. We've got a statement made, and then a few verses later, a description of the same statement. So it kind of jumps around, gets a little bit confusing, but if just keep your program in your hand so you can tell who's playing what position there. So then verse 6, it came to pass that when he had commanded the man clothed with linen, saying, take fire from between the wheels and between the cherubims, then he went in and stood beside the wheels. And one cherub stretched forth his hand from between the cherubims unto the fire, okay, that was between the cherubims, and took thereof and put it into the hands of him that was clothed with linen. So we've got coals of fire, and cherubim is handing coals of fire to Jesus, and Jesus is then commanded, if you will, to scatter them over the city. And this is another sign of judgment coming, another sign of destruction coming, coals of fire, okay, spreading fire. And so that's what happens. And there appeared in the cherubims the form of a man's hand under their wings. Right? Remember, the cherubim, or the four living creatures around, they are given the name cherubims here, okay? But they are in chapter 1, they are living creatures with the four faces and the wings and the hands. Okay, so this hand, a man's hand, appears under his wings. Okay, and if you will, this is part of the same description. He's this hand under the wings, and he's reaching out, getting the coals, handing them to Jesus. Okay? So, and when I looked, behold, the four wheels by the cherubims, okay? One wheel by one cherub, and another wheel by another cherub, and the appearance of the wheels was as the color of a beryl stone. Remember, we've got the colors were described in chapter 1. This was a bright, shining, this is God's glory in the form of this, if you will, living vehicle, living creature type vehicle. Okay? And again, now we come, again, the description again, continuing. Now this description in this chapter probably would have, you know, there's a time span between chapter 1 and Ezekiel's vision in chapter 1 and this. So he's pretty much reminding the people, whoever's there listening to him, he's seeing the vision again, and he's reminding the people of what the vision looked like. Okay? That's about as simple as you can get it. And like I said, you know, a couple of little differences in the description, but it's the same vehicle, it's the same chariot. Okay? And so we've got wheels here described. As for their appearances, they four had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel. And again, you cannot read through and find that image that I had, the paper that I had, and you can see pretty much this same description, and again you could sort of, if you will, substitute chariot for wheel. You know. And there is a kind of a suggestion there that you could suggest that. And so we've got this wheel. When they went upon their four sides. They turned not as they went, but to the place whither the head looked, they followed it. The head, this one of these cherubs, one of these living creatures, the face of the man was the one in front, okay, and then the ox and then the eagle and the lion around, okay, but they always went in the direction of whichever one was leading. Okay, there were four of them, remember, around this thing. And all four, any one of those four could be the leader. And they went in that direction of whichever one was the leader. Okay? Like I said, gets kind of, how does this work? Okay, well, just like the UFO people like to say, oh, it went in different directions all at once, and it could move here and there and go anywhere, and there was no noise. Okay, wow, but this one there was noise. Yeah, there was wings. So, so they turned not as they went. So they went whichever direction they were going. If they were heading, east, they were heading east. They didn't change directions. So that's another thing, UFOs get to change directions all sorts of places, but this one went in a straight line. Okay? But this one could do it very swiftly. Okay? And their whole body and their backs and their hands and their wings and the wheels were full of eyes round about. Remember, that's a description in chapter 1 also. Even the wheels that they four had. Okay? As for the wheels, it was cried unto them in my hearing, O wheel. Okay? As for the wheels, it was, and this is where you could say chariot for wheel. Okay? This is kind of a, there's, apparently there are, some commentators, they've figured out that the word for O wheel is called the word galgal, 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 okay, a rolling thing, okay? And this is what it was a rolling thing. So they, sometimes the commentators will substitute, that word galgal for this word wheel, but we could also substitute chariot. Okay? A rolling thing, it's a chariot, and he's saying it in the hearing. The voice calls upon the wheels, and obedient to the call, the cherubim are lifted up, the wheels roll on, and again the word galgal would be better rendered chariot instead of wheel. Okay, and chariot, and that's how I've described it, as God's chariot, representing the collection of wheels. Okay? So, and again, continuing, everyone had 4 faces. The first face was the face of a cherub, the second face was the face of a man, and the third the face of a lion, and the fourth the face of an eagle. And in chapter 1, one of the faces was an ox. Okay? So, but again, don't get, it's the same vehicle. The possibly we don't know what a cherub actually looks like. Again, one of God's created beings, okay, and a very fierce being, and going by this description here, well, those living creatures would be described in chapter 1 would be cherubs, right? Fierce creatures. And the cherubims were lifted up. This is the living creature. Here we go. This is the living creature that I saw by the river of Chebar. This is the same living creature that he saw in chapter 1. Okay? And when the cherubims went, the wheels went by them, and when the cherubims lifted up their wings to mount up from the earth, okay, these lifted them up themselves also. This is their, if you will, mode of propulsion would be the cherub's wings, the cherubim's wings, and lifted up. And let's see, also a little earlier in chapter 10, verse 5, the sound of the cherubim's wings was heard even to the outer court. So that you could hear these wings flapping, like you could hear any bird flapping or whatever, swooping down, rising up. So the wheels went with them, lifted up their wings. The same wheels also turned not from beside them. Everything stayed the same. Everything stayed glued together. Everything was all connected. Then, here is what is basically happening in verse 18. Okay, God and His glory are departing from the temple that is being defiled. All of the abominations that were described by God happening inside the temple, in the temple grounds. Okay, all this defilement. God does not care for defilement. God does not want to be in the presence of sin. Okay? That's why he sent Jesus to take the sin for us, so that when we trust in Jesus and we head to heaven, okay, when we die, there's no sin. The sin has been paid for. Okay? God does not want to be in the presence of sin or have sin in his presence, so he is departing from the temple. It's been defiled. It's been filled with sin and iniquity because the Jewish people, his chosen people, have decided to depart from him. They depart from him, he departs from them. Glory of the Lord departed from off the threshold of the house and stood over the cherubims. Now, and this also could be, he's departing from the Holy of Holies. Remember, there are two cherubims with their wings outstretched on the mercy seat on top of the Ark of the Covenant. So it's rising above and rising above the threshold and rising above the temple. Cherubims lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth in my sight. Okay? They're out of here. There's not enough room in Dodge for the both of us. Okay? So they're gone from the earth in my. When they went out, the wheels also were beside them, and everyone stood at the door of the east gate of the Lord's house, and the glory of God of Israel was over above them. So now God's glory, it's coming out, rising up from the temple, and standing over the east gate, that gate over there, facing the sun, and over that east gate. And again, this is verse 20 is a repeat. This is the living creature that I saw under the God of Israel by the river of Chebar, and I knew that they were cherubims. Okay? Chapter 1, he described them as living creatures. He didn't really figure out that, these are cherubims. These are cherub. Yeah, cherubim. Anyway, so now he knows, if you will, their true name. And again, everyone had 4 faces apiece, and everyone 4 wings, and the likeness of the hands of a man was under their wings. Same vehicle, a living creature vehicle chariot, rolling wheel. Okay? And the likeness of their faces was the same faces which I saw by the river of Chebar. Their appearances and themselves, they went everyone straight forward. So God is departing from the temple. And again, for if you will, for us to have, God depart from this church, we would notice that there's something wrong when that happens. Okay? And again, the remnant of people in Jerusalem, the small remnant who still trust in God and who still believe in God, they're going to notice something's wrong. Okay? And as Pastor said, when the rapture happens, there are going to be a few people that'll notice, but it'll be for just a short time. They'll notice, and then they'll be filled with delusion, but God's glory is gone from the temple, gone from the meeting place where the children of Israel should be going to meet God and to, pay for their sins. They have to make sacrifices. They have to trust in God just as much, and it's the same God. We have to trust in God for our salvation. They have to trust in God for their salvation. And I'm going to stop here early today. We finished chapter 10.